I remember just asking Robert Eggers right at the beginning just what I thought was a pretty basic question, which is like, is this stuff actually happening? Like, or is it a magical island? And also, like, whose perspective is the story being told from? Like, is this even happening? And he's like, you have to decide that for yourself.
The Lighthouse, the 2019 psychological horror by Robert Eggers, is a surreal and dark exploration of the folklore and myth surrounding the mysterious historical figure of the Wiki. Today, I want to explore how The Lighthouse generates such a fresh and captivating horror grounded in the annals of history, succeeding where so many other horrors fall short. From the film's obvious symbolism of the Greek myth of Prometheus, to the film's multiple ontological layers playing with reality and time to psychologically disorient the spectator, there's a lot to unpack. Before we get into things, a huge thank you to all my supporters for helping me to 11,000 subscribers. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Film Essay. The light of the lighthouse is established early on in the film to be the coveted possession of Thomas Wakey, a seasoned lighthouse keeper who has foregone his family and chance of a normal life, and is now, in a sense, wedded to the light. The light can be seen to symbolise a lot of things: beauty, truth, knowledge. Winslow is denied the privilege of ever seeing or being in the presence of the light, and as time goes on he begins to yearn for it more and more. After Winslow kills Wakey, he finally experiences the light for himself, but it overwhelms him in both the symbolic and physical sense, and he falls into the darkness. The final shot of the film is Winslow being eaten alive by seagulls. We can compare this boiled down version of the lighthouse with many aspects of the myth of Prometheus. In ancient Greek mythology, Prometheus tricks Zeus and steals the light of knowledge from him, a light that Prometheus gives to the humans to create fire and knowledge. This, however, causes wars to rage between people of different nations, and Prometheus is punished by Zeus. Zeus chains Prometheus to a mountain and curses him to have his liver eaten from his stomach every day for eternity, never to die and always to suffer. However, Prometheus is said to have never regretted stealing the light, despite his subsequent suffering, and he was therefore a heroic figure in ancient Greece. The most obvious parallel between this story and the lighthouse is the final shot of Winslow's liver being eaten by the seabird. For me, this symbolises his slow and drawn-out suffering, isolated in the lighthouse after killing his partner, Wakey, and debilitated from his fall after being overwhelmed by the light he sought. This is the price Winslow must pay after murdering his partner, with the true tragedy being how the light, that symbolises Zeus's fire of knowledge, is too much for him to physically and symbolically experience. For me, one of the true accomplishments of The Lighthouse is how a huge source of its horror is simply from the human battle against the forces of nature, the wind, the storm and the waves, and the subsequent isolation, starvation and insanity they cause. There is a time capsule-esque feel about the film, a feeling that we are looking back in time at the harsh, weather-beaten life of the lighthouse keepers throughout history, who would spend months isolated on stormy rocks in similar conditions to the film. The Lighthouse succeeds in making the past scary, showing us how difficult life could be for those unfortunate enough to be marooned on a rock. It shows how, in some ways, our most basic fears remain the most terrifying, how dehydration, starvation, delirium and insanity are the true monsters of nature that will drive men to beasts.
How long have we been on this rock? 5 weeks? 2 days? Where are we? Help me to recollect.
An effective tool director and co-writer Robert Eggers uses to involve the viewer in our two main characters' descent into madness is to disorient the spectator's sense of reality and time, in such a way that the surreal becomes blended into the real. As the film progresses, the audience completely loses its grip on the time frame of the film, with the montages of drunken delirium giving way to conversations about how long the pair had been marooned. A final technique that contributes to the disorienting feel of this psychological horror is the constant oscillation between which character's point of view we are seeing events from. Although Winslow seems the obvious candidate, there are several instances in the film when the viewer is presented with Wakey's point of view. This all contributes to making the ending so disorienting, causing the viewer to lose their grip on time, perspective, and even the distinction between the surreal and the real, which underwrites the psychologically unsettling nature of the film. As Steve Rose writes for The Guardian, the maritime imagery and symbolism seems to beckon all the way down to the primal depths of our subconscious, crushing waves, seagulls, mermaids, tentacled leviathans, and of course, the phallic symbol of the title. Robert Eggers summed up the symbolism and imagery of the film well when he said, "This movie is over the top and grotesque in all the definitions of the word, and the imagery is heavy-handed. That's by design. I would love to make a movie that both Freud and Jung would be furiously eating their popcorn to." Superstition is played with in The Lighthouse in such a way that the dark underbelly of folklore is explored. Tales about seabirds, Davy Jones' locker and mermaids are today rosy, fantastical stories, but this film reminds us that these stories are grounded in the beliefs and lives of many throughout history. I love the way the film made the concept of a mermaid, something usually presented in popular culture as angelic or ethereal, something grotesque and repulsive. The film lays bare marine folklore in a disturbing way and makes you believe it, teaching the audience the lesson that they should never kill a seabird. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and let me know what you thought about the film in the comments.